a few times that this is his weakest matchup, but the thing is, Serral's weakest matchup is looks like a lot of people's strongest matchup.
That's the thing. His weakest matchup, yeah, he can still 3-0 innovation and like beat Maru on like a good day, you know. But anyhow, we will be getting into this series and spawning in the top left of Year Zero. It is our Red Terran. It is time.
And it's up right here, representing Ents, the Finnish Zerg in the blue. He's our champion. This is Serral.
And the crowd here loves him. In fact, the crowds everywhere love Serral.
Everyone loves him.
He is perfection personified. He has learned. He got to the best in a very unusual region, being the European. He managed to get so good that even the Koreans were scared of him. And how did he do it? He just plays so darn well. A lot of players, they had certain styles that was like, okay, that's revolutionary, you know? Serral just seems to do everything better than everybody else. Now here, Year Zero, it is a large map. It is a map that, you know, very often we see mech plays go up against Zerg. It is a huge, huge travel distance across the map, so bio, it's kind of hard to get stuff done, but we have seen a lot of bio from time throughout this tournament.
And honestly, on stream, though, we haven't seen a whole lot of bio against
It was just
Zerg.
insane, right?
Yeah, insane. The only Terran on the main stream that's actually played bio against Zerg. Everyone else has been going battle mech or vanilla mech.
Yeah, I mean, Battle Mech, obviously, with the Cyclone changes, became far better than it ever used to be against Zerg. But on a map of this size, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Mech from, well, at least Battle Mech from time. But Serral, he's definitely showcased that he's been very good against this. Do you remember that game against Gumiho, I believe, and it was on this map, though? He did get kind of slaughtered in the late game by the mass battlecruisers and stuff, so he does have an Achilles heel.
He does, certainly. The Mech Terrans have given him a bit of bother, and of course, you know, Innovation beating him in the end in a very, very wonderful grand final over at WESG. So he has had, it has bled because of Terrans, but time, certainly not the Terran that you think of. You don't really rate him up there with your Gumihos and your Innovations, of course. So it's going to be a while before time can work towards that title.
Really, we're all kind of like waiting in anticipation to see what time can really bring, because we all know what Serral can bring. And I don't want it to be a stomp, because I do know time has displayed some very, very good games. That series against Hearthstone that wasn't shown on the mainstream, he did play sublimely. And the fact that he 3-0'd Hearthstone, and it also was like games where he was making massive comebacks. He's obviously a very decent player. Now, the little skirmish of the Reaper early on does get a little bit of damage done, but mainly it's just there to scout and make sure that the Zerg isn't doing anything super duper cheeky, getting all that information, sees a third at the regular time. Right now, this is a very standard opening from both.
Yeah, Serral still, of course, pumping out Queens and drones. That's all the Zergs want to do at this point, is just Queens and drones for the most part. They don't want to make units if they don't have to. And time just going for a pretty regular 1-1-1 opening. Well, see if he gets any add-ons in his factory as well. Sort of waiting to see what he wants to switch over with that starport. Like, is it going to be a naked starport, or is he going to... at the moment, it kind of looks like it's going to be a naked starport.
This is an unusual opening from time, in that he went for barracks before gas, which means you play safe with getting an extra Marine, but now he's making even more Marines. Now, yeah, this is getting pretty weird, pretty unusual.
This is sort of
Hellbatty kind of attack with a Marine drop kind of thing. I mean, you don't really get out that many Marines. Oh, and a Liberator too. So this is already very, very unusual from time, because normally you follow it with like a medevac and an armory and stuff, but not going for any of that at all. And this is kind of what I wanted to see from time. He obviously comes from a region that I'm not too familiar with, the China region, plays against Koreans on the Korean ladder a lot of the time, also spent some time in Korea. This is an opening that you don't see too often on the European ladder, not something that Serral plays against often. So I'm wondering to see how Serral handles this.
Oh, there's Overlord and a Spot of Bother here. Going to take a few more shots for that Marine. It might survive. I think it should survive.
Oh, but little Jimmy's got friends. And
calling for backup? Nope.
I guess one of the things here, he doesn't really want to commit to it, because there could be speedlings out in the field, and if they kill some of those Marines, it is very, very annoying. So 6 Hellions are moving out, more Hellions being produced too. Serral didn't actually see them move out, but he goes into the main, sees the Marines are left behind, so he knows it's not like a medevac kind of drop kind of situation. Does he have control of the Selnaga even? I don't believe so, correct?
No, that's not being used at all by anyone. Sees the Hellions now, of course, because of the creep spread. Queens instantly come down from the third ramp and start to try and push these away from their areas here. Trying to keep those babies safe. Liberator parks right on top of the natural.
And look at that, there's a great pullback by Serral. Does get his queen into a good position. Still decent pulls on these drones in multiple spots, but time's already kind of delivering a bit of a fast-paced game against Serral. This Liberator, though, he has taken quite a beating. Only 1 kill so far, and that actually might just be a lava kill.
Potentially. This Queen just getting a chance to use and stay alive. Natural trying to be breached by the Hellions, but body blocking from these extra Queens of Serral, and the Lings, of course, doing a good job as well. He is going to carve through these Lings, get himself an exit for these Hellions, but doesn't really find critical damage.
Sublime blocking by Serral there. That was really, really critical because Time is investing a lot into dealing a lot of damage here. He also made quite a few more than just the 6 normal Hellions, so maybe he's trying to show Serral that, hey, look, I'm playing mech for sure. Like, I'm making so many more Hellions than normal. This Spore Crawler doing a little dance with his Liberator does, again, pull these drones. This is something that Serral's so good at, by the way. These little harassers that normally you can catch a Zerg off guard by just throwing chaos at them. Serral is always on the ball, it seems.
No mistakes at all from the Finnish Zerg so far. And we are seeing a bio follow-up here for Times. You can check through just by looking at the production tab. We've got 1-1 upgrades there for the bio. Stem's been on the way for a while. Third CC also is part of the wall-in, and he's going to try and secure that. Of course, Serral is just concentrating on his macro right now. He's really just respecting time, but still gearing towards the later stages of the game. Double Evo, just nothing but drones.
So if we look at this, just like the complete basics, Time didn't really get any drone damage done. Yeah, Serral made quite a lot of Lings to hold things off, but now Serral knows what he's up against. He's against Bio. He's also droning pretty darn hard. He's going to be up to 66 very soon. So he's not been flomped at all within regards to economy. Getting good upgrades. He's not too far behind in that regard. Getting the Bailing speed too. Even keeping this Overseer alive.
He's just being a tryhard now.
Yeah, that's
very tryhard.
I've always loved that as an insult. Like, yo, you gosh darn try hard, you know.
I just mean that he's too good for us, man.
He is too good. So Time, he does establish a third, and he goes for the further away third too. So that shows that he's very likely to play like a longer macro game. As I said earlier in this cast, this map is so huge, so it's very hard to really get any clinical damage done with these drops and such. It takes a long time for those to arrive. Serral, he's taken a 4th base at the bottom of the map, and this creep spread is already getting scary. It's already got to a point where it can't really be stopped.
Liberator on the south side of the map here for Time. Going to try and find some damage, but Serral, he just keeps moving his defenses very, very actively here to wherever he's weakest. Anytime there's an opening in his defenses, you can see like a new base, an open main. He just plugs that hole with some static defense or gets units split up very nicely. And this run by that doesn't do damage on the natural will certainly do damage at the third.
The thing is, though, Time is also moving out across the map at the 4th base of Serral, and this is a lot of economic damage, but the supplies are very even, and I mean, even trying to deal damage to his Liberator, but it's not getting done. Serral right now is just holding everything off while also dealing counter damage here.
And some of these Queens aren't getting transfused until just now as well. Serral decides that he has enough, bringing in the Banelings forward. There's not that much creep spread here, and actually the Marines do very nicely there against those Banelings.
Those tanks surviving is a huge deal here, actually. This is very scary for Serral. He hasn't been able to drone during this whole time. Here, the flank does come from behind, though. Folks in those Banelings with the siege tanks. These Marines getting healed by the 2 medevacs. The Queens do charge in. The push is held, and Serral does survive.
He certainly would have started to sweat a little bit there. He actually is going to have to spend this gas bank somehow. He didn't get a Spire, so he can't really just pump out tons of Mutalisks. He went for the Hydra path.
You know what? I kind of like this for the Terran player right now.
Yeah.
Like, he's got a decent supply count. The drone count isn't super duper scary. You do see that Serral is trying to eke out those numbers, but the creep spread, even though it's pretty decent in the middle of the map, that south part is very vulnerable. And Time right now, just making sure that creep is not a problem later on in the game, but look at Serral, just constantly trying to apply it.
Absolutely. He knows that he desperately needs to get the creep back in those spots where the Terran is clearing up. He doesn't want an easy push path, an easy parade for these Terrans to get across the map. He is actually, how close is he from 2-2? I can't really see on the screen. Okay, so both players are about the same far away from 2-2. I like that Time's going for a second factory here.
Better than Beyond.
Nice target fire. Very nicely done.
That's very critical, by the way. These Banelings, they are not cheap. They are one of the most supply-efficient units in the game, but they're definitely costly. So these little skirmishes that Time's been doing, I believe the Resources Lost tab is probably a little bit better for Time. We do see that. Only little, but every little skirmish matters, and that's what he's really been eking out, trying to get little advantages here, there, and everywhere. Even throwing up a 4th base and going up to 8 barracks behind this Time. He's looking to deal a lot of pressure damage here.
He certainly is, and he's not really missing any beats in his macro. Going toe-to-toe at the moment in macro versus the champ himself. And Serral sees that Time is pushing out on the map again. Needs to muster up his forces, making nothing but Lings heading towards Hive as well. Oh, nice catch on this 4th command center. Time getting greedy there, putting it on location. Serral punishing him for it.
And right now, this creep is buying Serral so much time. Lings do enter the 3rd base, and already SUVs are dropping everywhere. Nice focus fire on the Banelings. He did do that, but this is still a lot of damage being done. He is pushing at the 4th base, but again, that creep, you cannot really engage a Zerg on it very well. Zerg moves a lot faster on the creep, and this is a lot of Banelings that deal significant damage against Marines.
Not that many tanks, but a good spread of bio units here for Time.
33 SCVs falling, they're falling everywhere.
Well, this is looking like whatever Time does, it needs to kind of end the game here as Serral takes control of game 1. Does get rid of the tanks, but the bio standing strong on the edge of this creep here. Serral just needs another minute or so, or less than a minute, to get another wave of units out, and Time will actually be cleared away from this hatchery, which he did not kill.
1 minute ago, they were both 150 supply. Now, 170 versus 110. Serral took super advantage of this map being so big, and now he's getting ready for a huge flank by the looks of it. Serral's coming in.
Oh, nowhere to run. He's going to pick up these medevacs. Not even going to bother. GG. Time was toe-to-toe with Serral up until that mid-game, and then the late game, the macro stages, the part of the video game where you have a lot more to do and a lot more to manage. Serral shows that he's just on top of it.
Yeah, he was doing well until he wasn't, you know, against Serral. Like, Serral dismantled him as well. It was like, in one moment, Serral just did that counterattack, took out the 4th base, stopped it from producing, went to the natural, went to the 3rd. 38 SCVs falling in the blink of an eye, and he utilized that creep spread. Like, his creep spread actually, I never really talk about Serral's creep spread, but just his base fundamentals. He knows, like, his list of priorities is so set in stone, but it always seems the exact right things to do. The creep bought the time, he did the damage on the cross, built up enough of an army, and he actually got up to 80 drones with all that pressure that Time was trying to apply to. Just a great, great start for Serral in this series.
Certainly, and the biggest map of the map pool is done so far in the series. Where are we headed for the next one? So Kairos Junction potentially here?
Could be, could be. Definitely an unusual choice by Time to go for bio, I feel, on that map, because it is so big. It's definitely one of the maps that you feel far more comfortable as a Zerg player going up against it. Now, could this mean that Time is a guy that literally goes bio every time, given that he picks the best, well, this was the best, well, one of the better mech options in the pool, and he goes bio, because that could already be something that Serral reads into him, and then Serral can start cutting corners, and as soon as Serral starts cutting corners against you, that's when you're in real trouble, because this guy can do anything.
Yeah, when Serral's ahead, you don't see him throw. He does not lose that lead. You need to be able to get on top of the lead in the game and hold it somehow against this monster, the Finnish Phenom here on camera.
And that was just a Serral game personified, right? Like,
basically.
Just no mistakes. Ice cold, no mistakes. That's the way he plays.
Yeah, well, we are getting into map number 2 here. And it is going to be on Kairos. In the bottom right, the Red Terran from China. Yet to win a map in the series, but I do believe he can. This is Time.
The crowd here again, beautiful.
Yes, wonderful crowd.
But it is the champion, currently 1-0 up in this series, playing for Team Ents as the Blue Zerg. It is Serral.
I'll pull first here.
Starting off with something a little bit fancy here. Pool first usually means you get a few lings out in the field. You can maybe cancel the CC if you get super lucky. Usually just go for the SCV damage. Now, it's also pretty decent against these proxy racks builds, which if your opponent's just lost in very simple fashion, right, like you just outplayed him, his tactics were very good, you can very often find that a lot of these Terrans will resort to some cheeky play to try and even up the series quickly. So I like the fact that Serral's throwing out something a slightly bit weird.
This is one of those maps where I've seen a lot of 3 racks proxies. You know, this is one of those ones.
Well, you're a Euthermal fan, so you've seen a lot of those, you know?
I certainly am a big fan of Mad Mark. But, you know, this is one of those maps where he is up against it. And when you touched on the style that Time's been playing, you also touched on another reason why that might be the case, is because he does play on a server that's very disconnected from us. Obviously, he does play on Korea as well, but China has its own meta, and that's where a lot of his practice would have been.
Yeah, I mean, Time is definitely a guy that I don't think strategically he pulls out anything really, really crazy. It kind of comes across to me as like a Clem, you know? Like, he's very fierce, he will do drop damage, he's very, very quick, and he tries to get a lot of damage done. Now, these lings moving out across the map, the way that he wants to play this realistically is to avoid the Reaper and go for the CC, or at least go for the SCV building the CC. Now, this is an unusual path for this Reaper. Does seem like it's... Is it going to see these lings? Oh my gosh, that was literally a pixel or two.
And Serral knew about the Reaper, of course, because of the Overlord, so he just avoids it, and he's going to go towards that natural, and that low ground CC. It's a little bit rough to hold. He did squeeze out a Marine before the reactor, at least, so he has a unit.
Oh, but this depot is down. He gets a full surround on the reactor, so the reactor's also delayed. And this is a lot of lost mining time, Maynard. This is so bad for time at this point in time.
You could squeeze in a few more times in that sentence, I think, if you tried really hard.
It's very difficult.
It is so hard, isn't it?
It's very difficult.
Well, the depots were lowered on purpose here for time. He wanted to be able to bait the Lings into the main base. Unfortunate that he lost the reactor, but he wanted those workers to get down here and tussle with those Lings. He only had the single Marine. He really wants that reactor, and of course, really wants his natural command center, which did get delayed there by Serral. Relatively inexpensive attack there, even though he went pull first and he made a good chunk of Lings. His economy's not slowing down. He's about to hit 30 drones in a second.
Right, I mean, that was exactly what Serral wanted to get done. Time definitely microed well against it. I don't even think he lost an SOV against that, actually, which was much credit to him. But the amount of lost mining, that is totally worth it for a pool first. So right now, time is... Oh, he lost actually one SOV, which I guess isn't too bad still. But the lost mining, the reactor being delayed, everything got delayed there. So Serral's going to be feeling comfortable. And for time to get a little back into this game, he has to find an edge somewhere.
Yeah, like a Hellion run by, or
Hellion drop here, maybe.
Or Hellion drop, you know, maybe squeeze out a medevac out of the starport first instead of getting a tech lab on it.
And this kind of follow-up, like this can be a lot of things. Very often in the Korean scene, you find that they go for like 8 Hellions with an initial Hellion drop. Then they follow up with like the Hellbats in 2 different locations. But he's also making Marines here. Now, is this because he wants to bring Marines to the attack? Is it because he wants to use the Marines to deny the vision in the Overlord? It's probably that right now. He's already showing like a very weird opening here. Like there's no third CC, and he's already making the tech labs and such. Very unusual by time.
Well, he's going to try and get this Hellion drop into the main base of Serral and get some damage done. He's, of course, to avoid the Overlords, avoid anything out there on the map for Serral so he can...
Does Serral have Link Speed ready?
He does.
He does have Link Speed ready? Okay, then this Hellion drop shouldn't really get too much done if Serral handles it correctly, but does he know what he's up against? He's actually making Roaches quite a significant number to at this point in time.
And he saw the edge of the medevac there with the creep shooter being placed, so he knows about the Hellion drop. Time doesn't even get to unload the full payload of this medevac. Serral does not give him the opportunity.
And this is a lot of Roaches being made, which...
Oh, he's going to go across the map.
He didn't see this third CC, right? So the fact that he's doing this against a build where he didn't really know where the third was, or if there was a third being made, that's a bit precarious, because this Terran could still be doing kind of like a 2-base push. Now, we do see that a CC is in production, but this is definitely Serral going super all in here.
And Time sees one Roach, sees some Lings, and he really needs these tanks to be up.
But yeah, he definitely does, and a bunker is being made too. He's got a decent wall in here. It is with the command center, but there will be tanks in production. Now, does Serral... He is holding off this Hellion attack pretty decently. He's just trying to buy time at this point. Liberator also marching across the map. I think this tank, this push, it's going to be pretty hard to get stuff happening. I love where he's got the tank position too. Very far away with these Hellions. They can get a juicy shot maybe on these drones, but no. Serral, too good.
He loses one drone here. The Liberator looking for damage over here as well, but nothing done just yet. The tank got piled down. Oh man, that tank was the lifeline here for Time, and it is gone. He does have another tank on the way, but he's natural certainly going to take some damage until that happens. And this bunker getting piled down as well. Time with a mass repair. He's desperately trying to hold on. Is starting to lose more and more units as that happens, though. The tank getting target fired again. Serral takes down the second tank. No more factory units here for Time back at home. And that's just too much here for the Zerg. Serral, 2-0, and he's already on match point.
And he's doing it rather fast. He's done this on Year Zero and Kairos Junction. I don't know how he does it or what he sniffs out, but he knew he could kill his opponent with that. And
it feels so ballsy and so...
He scouts the factory, making the tech lab with the Overlord very quickly too. So he could have ran into multiple tanks, but he brought the 3 Ravagers, he was kind of tanking with those, and he brought the Queens along too. So even if the tank shots did get off, it takes quite a few tanks to kill a Ravager, never mind when they're being transfused. So it was a well-calculated push by Serral. I really like how he executed it.
And certainly worked out to great effect there. Time's going to have to pull a rabbit out of the hat here in game number 3, or it's going to be a pretty unceremonious exit for him here in the round of 8. I mean, a great tournament for him, of course. Really good showing here at this tournament, but it's kind of looking like his run is about to stop, which happens to a lot of people when Serral's in your bracket.
Absolutely. I yesterday, after Time did defeat Harsam and moved on to this stage of the tournament, he did go up to Serral. They both giggled a little bit. And Time shook his hand and said, "Congrats on top 4," kind of thing. So, you know, like he was joking. Everybody knows how good Serral is, but you don't really know until you get to play against him. You can play against the absolute best Zergs in the world. They are all missing something that Serral has. And honestly, and the thing is, too, he has the full array of builds. He can be super defensive, but he's also one of these guys that's done cheeky proxy hatches and stuff in the ZVT matchup. He also uses Ravagers a lot more than other Zergs. He's also, like, he just plays his own style. He's amazing.
Time is an incredible Terran, but it's hard to look good when someone is just reading you like a book and abusing every single weakness.
Time's not even playing bad.
No, he's very, very, very good.
In that first game, he actually macroed super solid. Like, he was on 150 supply against him, and he played very good. And spawning in the top left, as that Red Terran did his time.
That's right. And the bottom right here, it is still the same Zerg as it was in the last 2 games in game number 3. This is Ence's Serral. I think that actually might be my best player intro of all the player intros I've ever done.
We were a bit busy just talking about Serral and how good he is. And like, we wanted to give credit to Time as well, because very often you can be made to look very bad, and it's not because of you being bad, it's because of how good your opponent is. And we definitely saw that in the game 1, he definitely macroed very well. Now he's opening up this game in the same way. Barracks first, Gas second. It's a very, very reliable build. It means you get out the Marine after the Reaper. Oh, look at Serral here. Gas pool before hatchery. It almost feels like he's like, man, stop wasting my time. I'm going to get you out of this game with some cheeky stuff.
Serral's like, no, I'm getting a little bit hungry. I feel like an afternoon snack or afternoon tea here before I get to the semis.
This is so wonderful to see, though. Like, very often we've had foreign champions that they're very known for certain styles. You know, like Snoot was extremely defensive, and that's what he did. Serral really, he fits the mold of the perfect guy. He plays Zerg like Maru plays Terran. Like, these builds, he's not done the same thing in any one of these games, just very different stuff. And he keeps you on your toes. Not only will he outperform you because he's just better, he can do everything.
Well, Time's going for the low ground CC here, which is, I mean, when you go gas pool first, it's going to definitely take a little bit of pressure here from the Zerg as the Lings are going to hit the field shortly.
Now, he does pull off one drone from gas, but that is very indicative of maybe a Baneling nest or something. Yeah, I mean, it's very unorthodox in this matchup. It's almost pulling a page out of Scarlet's book here. Now, what does Time have to do here? Well, he has to assess what he's up against first and foremost. There are going to be Lings moving out across the field, which could catch you off guard again, but this Reaper needs to get information.
Certainly does. Needs to see the Lings at least, but we see the Lings are down the south ramp here while the Reaper takes the north. So he hasn't seen anything yet. Not until he sees that this hatchery is not finished yet and go, oh, uh-oh, pull first. My natural needs some defenses here.
There are so many follow-ups that this could be, though. This could be like just a natural pull first without a gas. But the fact that it is what it is from Serral, it is very unusual. Now, we haven't seen like an alarming amount of Lings being made or anything like that, so it's not an all-in by any means. And in fact, that gas count has been climbing, but hasn't really made anything from it. Like, there was no Baneling nest joining.
No Roach Warren. Nothing like that.
I tell you what, Time's microing very good against this. I don't even think he's going to lose this Marine if he does it correctly, and no. So
wow.
4 Lings down, keeps the SV alive too. That's a decent hold by him.
Really good defense from Time, considering that he, he sent the Reaper across the map and then low ground expanded. He didn't SCV scout or anything like that. So great reactions, great control. Good start for the Terran here. Serral heads towards that third base. Obviously, it's a little bit delayed, not at 2 and a bit minutes because of the opening choice.
I wonder. Ooh, canceling
nice.
that creep, but
Another
he will
one.
get this one.
Wow.
Oi, tried to get it again, but Serral too good with a cancel there. But Knight, like, stopping one creep tumor at this point in time, it's very good to do. Taking this third base, like this is the very obvious third on Fort Alexander. It's far away from your opponent, so you don't tend to take the other one. Ling speed is done, so this Reaper is not long for this world.
Yeah, he's going to go down. Fusion Core gets dropped here for Time. Is he going for a BC opening? I see just the 2 gases for now.
Oh, do you know what this might be, Maynard?
Oh, there's the third one. So, Range Liberator?
Well, there is a build that is very common on this map where you start making tanks, Marines, and then you can get out a Banshee or a Battlecruiser and you siege up above the third of the Zerg, and you can really attack it with the tanks. You build a bunker right above there, as the commentator is showing us. And it's very, very gnarly, but we'll still see. Like, there's so many things that Terran can do, but he has to do something to maybe throw Serral off a little bit in this game. But the fact that Serral already scouted that Fusion Core...
That's a BC for sure. There it is on the way here for Time. And that Overlord, pretty clutch for Serral. He knows how to deal with this. This is a build that's actually quite popular on the EU ladder, or was for a while. A lot of Zergs had to deal with these BC openings from Terran. And it's just the one port BC, but still scary enough, and he's going to respect it. Still producing tons of queens, going up into lair as well, but no spore crawlers just yet.
I think he's got his timings perfectly down here. Does start trying to make spore crawlers at this point in time. Yeah. Oh, Yamato starts as well. That's really crazy. So that probably shows that he's going to be committing more to BCs than the regular. Late third. Serral sees that because he doesn't see anything in the natural.
Oh, Nidus Ling Queen here.
Oh. Well, that's one way to shut down BCs.
It certainly is. When that thing tactical jumps on the other side of the map, it's not going to be very helpful at dealing with Nidus Worms. In fact, you know, without tanks here, Time doesn't have a huge, like, I guess, consistent response to the Nidus Worm unless the tanks are on top of it.
I tell you what, though, if you do want to deal with Nidus, you already having tanks in production and Marines from a reactor, that's actually a pretty nice way to go about it. Now, okay, he sees nothing at the natural. He sees that the gas isn't taken too. I mean, that's not much of a tell because Zergs can take gas anywhere pretty much. But where is this Nidus? Oh, it is going up in the main base and he doesn't. Oh, he has vision. He
does have vision.
He does have vision, but will he see it in time?
It looks like he is pulling those units. Yeah, he is going to start dealing with that Nidus Worm.
This is where the game gets really dicey though, Maynard. Oh, he does actually start coming out of it, but there aren't enough units here. Serral.
Oh, Serral, what's happening here? He's losing his queens quite fast.
Wow, that was a mistake. Time holds very nicely. He's also denying mining. And right now, Serral only has lings and queens and no real other tech. Yeah, he's droning up here, but look at his drone count. He is significantly behind here. He did not read what Time was going to do this game correctly.
That's true, uncharacteristic mistakes, and we got weapons refit finishing in about 10 seconds here, so Yamato going to be a factor for Serral. Those queens going to be kited down by that battle cruiser if they come up to try and engage. There's a lot of dead air to hide the BC as well, so this is one of the better maps to be able to do this BC opening. One dead queen coming right up, and then you just park into the bottom corner there and avoid damage as best as you can.
Very soon it will also have its transport up, so it can get out of there. But there will be another BC joining somewhere on the map. And I mean, right now, he's got all his bases covered. He's actually in really good shape this game. This is exactly what he needed to do. Honestly, the fact that he stopped making Hellions like he did, and he was going for the build he did, it worked out beautifully against this Nidus play. And unfortunately for Serral, he was just straight up hard countered. He just didn't know about it.
Certainly. It was lucky that Time had that third base where it was. If it was like part of the walling or something like that, he wouldn't have seen that Nidus Worm. Gets that Spore Crawler, high hit point battlecruiser on the front line. The other one just tags out while this one tags in. Keeping the pressure on the Zerg, and of course not losing these BCs, because it's quite bad if you do with these BC openings. And he's going to repair that up, and that'll be another unit for Serral to worry about.
But this BC...
Time. Up. Flight. Yeah,
does get away.
Got into that hidey hole, into that dead space.
And that's one thing that makes this map much better for BCs as well. There's not a lot of maps where you can hide behind the base like that of the Zerg opponent and just wait for teleport and get out of there. And every time that you blink in, you can always do a Yamato, do at least some damage, keep the queens at bay. That also halts the creep spread quite a lot, because those queens, they don't want to be doing what they're doing right now. They want to be going out and spreading queens, but these lings, they do meet the army of Time. And uncharacteristic from Serral, loses a lot of those lings. He can't afford to make these mistakes right now.
Yeah, and he's made a couple big mistakes here in this game so far. These Lings are going to find a pretty naked third, though, so he's absolutely going to find damage with this run-by. So very effective here for the Zerg, but that position that you were talking about, looks like Time wants it with these siege tanks.
Oh, and he does buy a little bit there by killing the creep tumors, and he's moving the siege tanks up into that sweet spot. Also, was there a fourth being made there in the first place? I don't believe so, but Time, he's got a good position here, even using the BCs for support. This is a gnarly position to be in for Serral.
Who called in the fleet? Time called in the fleet. Spore Crawler taking a big hit there from the Yamato and the tanks as well. Battlecruiser pulling back to this high ground and really just zoning back all the Zerg. It's such an unattractive position for the Zerg to try and get up there. No creep spread, obviously. There's no real huge number of Lings to be able to guarantee a cleanup.
What makes this spot so beautiful is those top two mineral patches can't be mined from because the tanks are in position. So you might be like, it doesn't kill the hatchery, does it? Whoa, that is the ballsiest tank.
Yeah, tank on the low ground here is a little questionable. There's a lot of queens.
Oh, the BC
dies. Okay.
Yeah.
Losing that kind of sucks for Time. It's a lot of his buffer here for these tanks. Serral going for a big counterattack. Lots of Marines, though, but he did kill 15 SCVs.
Serral making magic happen on the other side of the map, despite being under so much pressure, but Time has huge armies now, and it's very hard to take him down. Serral's one-to-one upgrade lead also will be diminished very soon, given that Time has caught up now.
Yeah, Serral's at the point in the game where he wants to try and head towards Hive or something like that. Looks like he wants to engage these Marines. They only have 1-1 upgrades. But he is actually, with sheer numbers, able to basically trade all right here against this army of the Terran.
I really like that for Time, by the way. He was stutter-stepping the Marines only, not with this medevacs in the control group. So the medevacs would constantly heal the Marines under the medevacs. That was a very nice bit of micro by Time.
Time still putting the pressure on this third base off Serral. Marines getting into the Serral mineral line here. The Queens also starting to really get thinned out. The Lings find out there's not that many Marines up here. They're getting this around.
And maybe he can finally clean this up. Actually, yes, all the Marines do die, but Time reinforcing at the last minute here does save one tank. That was really cute by him. He had to unload immediately, then pick up that tank, and he still reinforces this position. This is getting real horrible for Serral, and the BC is continuing to be a thorn in the side of Serral.
Time's got a pretty big army supply advantage, and he's going to look to really evacuate this fourth base here. The BC still putting on pressure. It does need to get it away from that Queen, I feel. It's a little bit low on hit points, but this hatchery's in big trouble to Muslim. No Baneling speed here, not that many Banelings.
Oh, and if there's one thing the Terran's done very well this series, his dropship micro has been very good. He picks up at perfect times. He's very annoying.
Wow.
And GG. Time is back in this series.
Will not go down without a fight. And he gets a map on the board, and he's very happy about it too.
Oh, I love seeing that. One map win against Serral, and he played very good against him. I mean, it was a hard build order counter.
Mate,
we can't forget that.
If I ever got a map off Serral, even if it was a ladder game, I would call my mother, I'd call my grandfather, I'd probably buy my wife another diamond necklace, maybe do a second wedding for fun.
Mate, if you
and
took
ride
a map
that high for the rest of my life.
If you took a map off Serral, I'd scream in the village, like in the pub. I'd be like, oh my gosh, this guy with a big photo, because I'd be your biggest fan from that point in time.
That's right. There'd be Maynard flags out there in the crowd. Waving around. This is the guy that took that one map that one time. He's 99-1. He did it.
I can't imagine how you'd do it against Serral, though. Like
me?
What kind of strategy would you have pulled out?
God, I mean, I wish I was anywhere good this time because I really do like BC openings against Serral. But I'm nowhere near as good to be able to do anything as well as Time did there in that game, obviously. That's why I'm on this desk and not on that one.
For sure. But it's one of those things, right? Like that Nidus didn't work out, and Serral was playing the whole game behind. He did start to get some stuff done with his Lings, killing quite a few SVs, but we definitely saw also some uncharacteristic mistakes from Serral, such as like running Lings across an army, like kind of move commanding. But the thing is, often we don't really talk about how you can find yourself in a bad position, and then you're the player that has to make moves happen. You can sometimes look really bad, you can sometimes look really terrible, but sometimes you can make it work. And Serral, he was kind of jumping for these opportunities, trying to make things happen because he had to. Unfortunately, Time was too good that game, and he just solidified his position and got into that little nook that is very good on this map. But yeah, great series so far.
Indeed. Very entertaining games. First two games, quite one-sided.
Second game was especially one-sided,
yeah. Especially second game, which got me really worried for game 3, but Time has reinstilled hope in me and reaffirmed my thoughts on the series, where I thought that this wasn't going to be a whitewash. If it was a 3-0 with games looking as one-sided as game 2, I would have been a little bit surprised, because Time really is quite legitimate, and he's shown everyone today that's watching right now, over 30,000 people watching, got to see Time really flex his TVZ guns.
Yeah, and he's obviously a very good bio player. I can't emphasize enough how good the Marine medevac micro was, and something very small, such as only selecting the Marines when you stutter step. It's such a big deal that not a lot of Terrans can do in so many locations, and he did it well. I also love the fact that he's utilizing new strategies that have not been out for super long periods of time, but utilizing it in a moment like this with the BC follow-up as well. Like, it was just beautiful by him. And talking about the man, the myth, the legend himself, Sporting Side Red Terran in the bottom right, playing for Team Newbie. It is time.
And the top left, still on match point. This is NC Sports' the Blue Zerg Serral. We've gotten a lot better at timing out our intros with the Russian commentators.
You know, I tend to notice that after he's been speaking for a good like 15 seconds, then the name's going to pop in. Then the name's going to pop in.
I figured this build out with Todd with the intros. We did it live. Like there was a baptism of fire here on the casting desk, trying to figure out these intros. Yeah.
So we can't avoid the fact that Serral opened up very strangely in that map. Like, he went for the gas, he went for the pool, turned out to be a Nidus build, which, you know, super duper hard counted, and then he found himself in a really bad position. Now, can Time hope for a super hard build order counter if Serral plays pretty normal? The answer is it's pretty hard to do that, especially against somebody that good. So Serral opts back for a totally normal opening, and yet again. So I'm glad that he's kind of flexed, that he's got a huge variety under his belt. He's testing the waters as well, but now he's going back to what's tried and true and tested for him.
Yeah, I love that he got cheeky a couple times in this series. I really, really do. The big roach hole in, the Nidus play with a lot of lings, the pull first gas openings, very, very cheeky. But, you know, this is, like you mentioned, the tried and true format, his formula.
And the thing is, because you play so weird and you've got very different openings, Time actually went for an SV scout, which does halt your economy a little bit. And especially given that he went, did he go barracks before gas again? I believe he did.
Let's look at the gas count here. Yeah, I think you're right.
If he has a Marine on the field, that's what he did. But if you do that build, it is the safest build. Yeah, so he did the safest build anyway and went for an SV scout. Now, he is denying the third because the SV's there. You need to wait for speed, really, or get a queen across there.
What's that tumor?
Oh, there's some fancy mic. And he even gets the ling on the way out. That was a bit fancy. But yeah, just a little economic deficit for Time that he would not want against anybody, but the fact that Serral's been playing the series and being very volatile in his openings, these are the little things that make him really good. Now, Reactor Hellion being made, still more Marines. Like, that's one thing that's I'm definitely questioning a little bit as to why he does that, because the Overlord still usually gets the vision. Ooh.
Oh, this Queens. Don't you touch my babies. Get out of here.
This is nice, though. Time, yeah, he's just trying to delay, trying to get every little win that he can out of every little situation. It's very good. Maybe he'll open with the Liberator again. It's much better on this map than it is on Year Zero, it feels. And
Fusion Core getting dropped now here. Now, we saw Papa Cars in this map actually go ranged libs.
We did, yes.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting.
It was also, he lost with it too, though, right? Even though it could have been way better. In fact, yeah, we did see that it could have been done quite a bit better, but we'll see. Maybe it's one of those situations, too, where it's like, hey, I just took a map off the world champion going BCs. You know what? I'm going to do it again, man.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, let's do it again.
Oh, it's going to try and fake cloak. Oh, that's
very,
huge.
Very clever from Time.
Okay, so I take it back. That second Marine makes a lot of sense. Just giving him the little bit of vision, but not enough to tell him the whole real story.
So yeah, there's 3 Marines here. But yeah, so he's powering on 2 bases here. We know the strategy. We know it's going to be a BC opening here 4 times. Serral, I mean, if he's smart enough to know that this was a fake cloak, I don't know how you would know that. It would be a massive surprise to me. It's very, very good from Time to be able to do that. Serral's just getting his queen count up, and everything looks pretty regular on his side of the map. But the thing is, just 1 spore per mineral line, 1 queen per mineral line, that's definitely not enough to deal with the BC opening.
Yeah, you're definitely right. There are some definite differences in Time's build. He did not opt for the 3rd gas, so whether we'll see more BCs
Probably
join the field.
Yamato.
Right, no Yamato. 3rd base does start. You're one of those guys, huh? Yamada.
Tomato. Don't you dare. I'm not going to fight with you right here on this card.
But yeah, the Battlecruiser does start. So whether he goes for like extra ones, he does start his stim immediately. So his gas count is going to be low. It does look like he will be transitioning into that bio once again. Now that's, I do like it better on this map than Year Zero. And he has been playing really good with it, so I understand. Getting that creep spread sorted out as best he can too. It's a nice little opening. He does tend to make more Hellions than normal Terrans do, it feels like, which can always throw you off a bit. But now the BCs are on the field. An immediate drone pull, by the way, before anything was attacked.
Yeah, looks like Serral's bringing everything along for the ride here. The Overseer as well coming forward. There's lots of queens, so he definitely can engage this battlecruiser. 3rd base looked like Time wanted to hit that drone line, but there's Banelings and Lings waiting for him.
Time's actually handling this very well. I know the BC is taking a lot of damage, but he's not committing too hard. But Serral's also defending extremely well here. The Lings were in perfect positions. The Queens were all on separate bases surrounding that BC. And look, even transfusing the Overlords as well, keeping them alive against this BC. It's beautiful by Serral.
Yeah, trying to just mitigate as much damage as he can, and actually does not get that Overlord in the end there.
So Time, he's still denying this creep spread. Like, he's very gung-ho about that. And given that he is a tempo-based player, and Bio is a tempo-based strategy, I love the fact that he's trying to make Serral's life very, very difficult. He does have... I also like that Serral's utilizing this creep spread from the Overlords so he can get those creep tumors out much further than he would be able to otherwise.
Yeah, it's very clever play there. And there's one on the high ground here as the Hellions try to gun through as well. Time's like, oh, I missed one. Shoots it down on the way through. Getting those Hellions to retreat for now, but you can see what he's doing here. He's clearing up creep so that he has a path to attack with when his bio upgrades finish and when the tank count gets a little bit higher.
Time has definitely made things uncomfortable for Serral. He takes a third base. It's a slightly different follow-up with the BC, given that it wasn't super-duper committed. Just one BC can make a Zerg's life a lot more difficult, a lot more troublesome. And right now, Time, he's got good supply, good worker count, being a few workers behind this Zerg, sure, but he did delay that fourth for quite a while.
for a lot of moments.
For a lot of moments.
Yeah.
How many? Yeah, it's difficult, man. It's difficult.
It is.
One advantage he does have is 1-1 is a little bit faster than the Zerg.
And a well-timed armory as well, so 2-2 can start immediately.
Combat Shields is on the way, so this army isn't as scary as it could be, but this armory could also turn these Hellions into Hellbats, which makes this a much scarier push.
BC getting back into the natural here of Serral. Meanwhile, his bio tank Hellion push here on the south is very, very scary. Serral needs to defend well in both sides. Oh, this BC is in big trouble. That's a lot of queens.
Oh, yeah, and I don't think that BC will see another day, but it did what it needed to do. It was that guy sacrificing himself and just getting other damage done. But Serral, oh, he's having none of it. He just goes across the map and deals damage to the SCV line. This is something that he's done throughout this series really well.
Every single time. We have those Banelings rolling through, and he is on creep with those Marines. They get stuck in front of the tank there. Good connection for those Banelings of Serral. He does pick off one of those tanks as well. Doesn't look like there's enough Terran to hold on.
The rules of RTS don't apply to Serral. He was under threat from a pretty large army. Not only does he hold it off, he counterattacks. Yes, he lost his fourth, but now he can put up a fourth, he can put up a fifth if he wants. A lot of damage is done, and now he can breathe a sigh of relief. We see the drone key just being held down like a beast as well by Serral. And also, yes, and is that a proxy hatch somewhere? Oh, no, just one hatch.
Yeah, it's just that one down here on the low ground. So this is very, very clean defense from Serral, doing a great job here in the med game, looking a lot more solid than he did in the last game there with Time's battlecruiser opening, really shutting it down, really punishing Time for trying to force his hand. Look at all this creep spread as well. So many active creep streamers. Serral missing barely any seconds here and spreading that creep. And Hive just around the corner here for the Zerg as well, which really gets dangerous for the Terran if he's still caught making Marines and tanks.
So given that Time is behind right now, he kind of has to do something to edge it out a little bit. So we're maybe going to see some desperate moves from Time. They can either look amazing or they can look really bad. So here, just trying to do what little damage you can. But seeing a large army on the map that's way bigger than anything you have, that's scary. And now, the fact that he's got no map control whatsoever, this creep spread can just go loco at this point.
Yeah, lots of active tumors still doing their thing here. Hive moments away. I like that he's also getting Overlord speed, so he can keep the Terran honest with these constant Overseer run-bys. Another thing that Serral is constantly doing in his games, never stops scouting and making sure what the Terran is doing. How's his production? How many bases does he have? Where's his army? All these things that he needs to know.
Also, this is what we talked about, right? Like, he has to do something. He has to get a lot of damage done because that supply, it's not going to get any better anytime soon. Serral's economy is better. Also, this is one of the sad things when you open up BC. You force out so many queens that once that stage of the game's over, then the creep can go crazy because you have so many queens to utilize properly. The one advantage that Time does have is his upgrades are a little bit faster. So maybe there's some fight that he could engage with pretty decently, but he looks like he's just holding back here, getting a fourth, getting up to 8 barracks again, and actually opting for Widowmine upgrade. So we will see a bit of a transition there.
Biomine not too solid against Hydraling Vein, though. Generally more of an anti-Mutalist thing. That said, I have seen some Terrans with really, really good bio control trade all right against this kind of army. Generally, you'd prefer tanks in this. In fact, Time is producing more tanks here.
We'll see what he does. Maybe it's something that's worked out for him before. It is a large map. It's nice to have those run-bys covered because we have seen that Serral has been doing a lot of those at the third base and stuff, and that would definitely help with those kind of plays.
Oh, good catch from Time. Gets a bunch of links for free.
Oi!
Oh, okay, gets 3 Banes there. Very, very fast. Loses a couple Marines, but still pretty good trades there for Time, at least in this skirmish.
Starts his 3-3 pretty much immediately, too. He is opting for Liberators. He is also making a 5th CC, I believe, somewhere. So he's definitely macroing up like a beast.
And he's one of those Terrans that is quite good at controlling Ghosts in the late game. We are seeing the Ghost Academy on the way. Definitely what you want against Tier 3 Zerg. And we are heading towards the late game here, ladies and gentlemen. Time on his last life. Serral still on match point.
Time is very persistent about killing this creep as well. And that's just a testament to both these guys. They've both been fighting for that creep control, but right now, when you look at that minimap, it does look like Serral is winning. Lines of creep tumors absolutely everywhere, spreading like a true Zerg across the field. Look at that. So many creep tumors going down with those queens that we used from earlier. He's also taking up to Ultralisk. He's getting a Spire. He's also got 3-3 on the way.
So much creep, it makes me sick.
And
like the Medivacs, just get out of there in time.
And the thing is, it's very hard to deny all this creep all the time, but it's also very hard to apply it, but they're both doing so well. It's just the creep gets to a point where it's way too hard to cut the head off the snake at this point. Like, there's too much of it. Now Time's opting for a bit of economic damage. Serral very quick to pull away. These are when the Widow Mines, I guess, could be very annoying to clean up if they weren't next to like a Spore Crawler or so.
Well, the Widow Mine actually helped Serral with the defense there, getting some of those Marines. And the Lynx come in to mop up the rest. Seeing 3-3 on the way, of course, Chitinous for those Ultras. The Medevac also got picked off there. So, Serral getting Spire and a Nidus Worm. I mean, he can afford it. He's got a good bit of money in the bank. Comes forward with his first few Vipers, which are full of energy, by the way.
And this PF isn't ready. Nice EMP. Does get one of the Vipers, I do believe. But this is a lot of Serral just marching in. This PF still not completed yet. A lot of Banes. The Hydras do start focusing down that CC now. And he gets it. I mean, that's a nice little win for Serral. Yes, he lost quite a bit doing that. I do like the early Vikings, too, to start dealing with this kind of air control. Throws out Parasitic Bombs to try and buy him some time.
Yeah, it works well enough. At least he managed to save a couple of these Vipers. Does lose one.
Nice abduct.
Where
one health Viking,
Where are you going, mate? Come back here. All right, well, Time getting those extra CCs is about that part of the game when you want to get a lot of orbitals out, extra planetaries, be able to sort of deny run-bys, make things a lot more awkward for the big melee army of the Zerg. Those big chunkin' Ultralisks. If you can deny and sort of SimCity them a little bit, engages come a lot better. Nice catch from Time, getting one Viper, nearly two.
Definitely some little skirmishes here going very well for Time. You can definitely tell he's a very good player. But when the creep spread's getting to your front door like this, it's so scary. Serral actually expanded down to the east or west side of the map even, which is a bit more of an unusual base to take. Maybe he just feels it's easier to defend. These are when the Widow Mines come into play, so he needs to bring Overseers with him every time. That's a lot of ghosts. Oh how many Niduses does he have?
Does he have 2 Nidus Worms?
I think he does, and this is going to be very hard to clean up. 1 Nidus is pretty decent to kill, but 2? I wonder what's going to be popping out of there too, Maynard.
Oh, they are full, and they're good to go, and it just looks like a lot of Lingbane Hydra. He's on top of that production facilities. There are a couple Liberators here, but they are not enough to deal with this many Hydras and Lings and Banes. The Terran definitely has to bring army up to deal with it. Another double Nidus Worm going down there in the natural. I've not seen double Nidus before, and it's working out so far for Serral.
This is when the game can spiral out of control. Yes, you have Liberators and tanks at the front and PFs in good locations, but these Niduses, he can start crippling you from the inside. He's had to lift his main orbital. His main is still under attack. Now, the supplies are closing up a little. That's only because Serral wasn't making units for the time being. He is up to 80 workers. He's still fighting in the back of this base with this group of Hydras.
He's even killing some of the production here. Fusion core and a couple barracks go down as well. I think he even killed one of the engineering bays, but of course all the upgrades that Terran wants at this point from those engineering bays are done anyway. I think he might have gotten the Ghost Academy as well, so that gets restarted here for Time.
Do you know how rich Serral is? He has 2 Spires, 2 Nidus Worms.
And he also made about $500,000 last year, so quite rich.
He is super rich, actually. And I mean, this is really cool. The creep spread has kind of taken a back foot, but I mean, there's so much chaos going on everywhere. This is a scary little squad here on the left side of the map, being reinforced by 2 Nidus as well.
If he gets a good EMP on those Vipers, the engagement could certainly go in his favor. Viper's a huge complication here for the Terran army. Just doesn't seem like he has that many factory units or really like a convincing amount of bio. Serral trying to hit in 2 places at once, as he generally does.
The thing is, if Serral can break Time before he gets up, like with full defenses, he can stop this from turning into a really long nuke game, which no Zerg really enjoys playing. And right now, he's just trying to get damage done everywhere that he can. Time, he's holding on here. Like, he's kind of cleaning this up with what he can, but he is starting to lose SCVs now. This natural is, it's kind of getting forfeit at this point.
Certainly is. Oh, these Widow Mines actually connecting very nicely there. Well, the second one, not so much, but good hit to the economy of Time. And those last few Hydras that survived in that natural seem to be the ones that did all the damage there. 20 SCVs dying, and Time's economy gets knocked down. But he does still have like over 1,000 minerals, 1,500 gas. He can still keep making Ghosts and Liberators, and as long as he can do that, he has a chance.
Look at this mobility that Serral's allowed himself, like double Nidus on either side of the map. If he finds out that one hole is breached, he can just reinforce it, and that's exactly what he did here. He noticed the bottom side of the map was pretty well defended, so he went to the top side just to try and eke out more damage. And yet again, right now, Time is very much wounded, even though he's got multiple bases. They aren't that well defended.
Oh, this Planetary, that's so many Banelings. Blows up the Planetary, and he's going for the Ghost as well. Great Widowmine there on the Banelings, but certainly a lot of damage done by Serral getting that base. Time still has this orbital go down here, but that is not a Planetary. That's very vulnerable.
Oh.
Double Nidus coming up again in the main base, exact same place. And Serral, once again, is going to keep the pressure on the Terran. He's relentless here. He's not slowed down.
He's smothering him at this point, and I mean, even though he's got a decent economy behind this, he's not been maxed for quite some time, so he is throwing everything he possibly can at our Chinese Terran play. Now, Chinese Terran is holding on, but still, it just feels like Serral, he's mining so freely on his side of the map. Time hasn't been able to leave his base for the last 10 minutes here.
It feels like he needs to start doing something with these ghosts. He did get a nuke earlier, so maybe if he can go out on the map and start trying to pressure or do damage to Serral on his side.
Ooh.
Oh my god, Ultras are in the main as well. These Liberators, though, make things a little bit tough. There is a bit of SimCity here for the Terran, but the Ultras are just barreling through this Liberation Zone, getting right in there. Even the Vipers joining in.
This is no longer a Terran base, main. There is creep here, there is more Zerg than Terran here. Time bringing up a good little army to try and clean things up, but the Ultra gets on top of things.
Yeah, on top of those
the
ghosts.
Blinding Cloud as well.
Man, it is time to die. Serral.